Before you book your next cruise or even step on the ship, there are a handful of things that can either make your trip amazing or quietly cost you hundreds of dollars and a lot of stress. And most first-time cruisers don't even realize they're making these mistakes until it's too late. So in this video, I'm answering the most common cruise questions people ask, the stuff you actually need to know before you sail.
It's Travel Mutiny with Dave on the waves. We're tossing all the worries overboard today. From deck to deck, we're laughing all the way. Oh.
Okay, this is probably the number one question that I get. Do I need a passport to go on a cruise? And it depends on the cruise. So if you're doing what's called a closed loop cruise, meaning that it starts and ends in the same US port, technically you can usually sail with just a birth certificate and a government issued ID, like a driver's license or a real ID. That said, I always tell people just bring the passport if you have one, because if something weird happens, you miss the ship, you get sick in port, you have to fly home from another country, it becomes way easier with the passport. It's not required in every case, but it's one of those things where having it makes your life 10 times easier if something unexpected is going to happen. So required? Sometimes no. Smart? Always yes. I mean, just go get a passport. If you're thinking about cruising or taking a vacation, get a passport, okay? If this is your first cruise, you're probably wondering this. What's the best cabin to book? Honestly, it depends on your personality and your budget, the money, right? Interior cabins are the cheapest, and they're great if you just want a place to sleep and you don't care about a window or looking out, and you actually get a really good night's sleep. You do. Ocean view gives you natural light, which is huge for some people. Balcony cabins, that's where it changes the game. Waking up, opening that door, hearing the ocean, that's the cruise moment people imagine. So if it's your first cruise and you can swing it, I'd say go ahead and get the balcony. But if you're just testing cruises to see if you even like it, interior is totally fine. Don't overthink it. You're not in that room much anyway. And like I said, with the interior, it's like all blackout, you get the best sleep you're ever going to get. But it is nice to step on that balcony. Is it worth 300% price difference? That's for you to decide. All right, this one can surprise people. Now, the question is, are drink packages actually worth it? They're worth it if you're actually going to use them. That's the answer. Now, most cruise drink packages, they require you to drink about 5 to 7 alcoholic drinks per day to break even. And that's every day, not just sea days, port days too. So if you're getting off port for 6 or 7 hours and drinking on there, well, the bars get your money, right? If you're someone who likes cocktails at lunch, wine at dinner, maybe a few by the pool, yeah, it can absolutely make sense. But if you're a 2 drinks a day person, it's probably not going to be worth it unless you drink like a ton of coffees, because those are usually part of the drink package. Also, remember it usually includes specialty coffees, like I just said, and bottled water, which helps. I tell people, do the math honestly, not vacation math, but real math. Like, are you going to have more than 6 drinks? Then get the drink package. and 6 drinks adds up. Say you go gambling for 2 hours and you have 4 drinks just in the casino, and then dinner, 2 drinks, that Bloody Mary in the morning, and then 2 specialty coffees. Like, drink package is paying for itself. And keep watching, because I'll mention the casino in a little bit too, because that's where the real deals come in. All right, here's something that people don't realize until after they book. What hidden fees are there on cruises? Here's the answer. Cruises advertise low base fares, but there are extras. There's a lot of them. It's kind of how they make money. And the big one is daily gratuities, usually around $16 to $20 per person per day. And that gets added automatically unless you prepay. And then it gets added automatically before you pay or when you book. And then you got specialty dining, excursions, drink packages, Wi-Fi, spa treatments. They're all optional, but they add up. The cruise fare covers your room, your main dining, your buffet shows, and most entertainment. But the add-ons are where people overspend. That's also where the cruises make their big profit. My advice, set a budget before you go. Decide what matters to you. Otherwise, you get off the ship thinking, wait, how did that happen? Pro tip, if you're thinking about the steakhouse, if you like the experience, then go ahead and pay for it. If you just want that steak and lobster for cheap, usually the main dining room has it for about $25 added on. So it's still a good bargain if you just have to have that steak and lobster. $25, it's worth it. Okay, this is a good one. If you're nervous about seasickness, you need to listen to this. How do you avoid getting seasick? Most modern cruise ships, they're super huge and they're super stabilized. And you don't feel much movement, most of the time at least, unless you've got like big seas. But if you're worried, book a cabin in the middle of the ship and on the lower deck, and that's where you'll feel the least amount of motion. Bring non-drowsy Dramamine or Bonine, just in case. Ginger chews help some people, mints help some people, and honestly, the first day is usually the only day people feel like a little bit off. Or if you're like hungover and you're drinking, but that might be more to do with the drink package than the actual ocean moving. And after that body adjusts, I've seen people terrified of seasickness end up totally fine. So don't let that fear stop you from cruising, because seasickness is kind of a lot mental. And if you don't think about it, it might not affect you. And if you do think about it, really good chance it could affect you. It's partly anxiety, I think. Okay, this question always comes up. When is the best time of year to cruise? Now the answer for me is the best time is usually the shoulder season, like late April, early May, or late September into early November. Prices drop, crowds thin out, and weather is pretty solid, except for the occasional hurricane. Summer is great if you've got kids and you need school breaks, right? And they're not in school. But it's also peak pricing. Hurricane season technically runs June through November in the Caribbean, but cruise lines are very good at rerouting ships around storms. And you just gotta be a little patient if you or just have to be in an itinerary, don't book during hurricane season. So it's not really a bad time, it just depends on budget and flexibility. But then again, anything can happen at any time. Look what's happening if you're watching this right now when I first put it out. There's a lot of stuff going on in the world, and your cruise itinerary might have got changed, and it had nothing to do with weather. I think ultimately the school schedule decides on how expensive a cruise is. I like to get the bargains and flying strange times. All right, if you're flying for your cruise, this is super important, okay? Question is what happens if my flight is late and I miss the ship? And the answer is if you book your own flights and you miss the ship, the cruise line is not responsible. You are. That's why I always recommend flying in the day before. Everybody recommends flying in the day before. If you're asking if your flight's gonna make it on time, are you good? You're not. Fly in the night before. Hotels near cruise ports are usually super affordable compared to missing a whole vacation, right? Pluses and minuses. Travel insurance is also smart. If you book flights through the cruise line, sometimes they'll help you catch up at the next port, but that's not guaranteed either. You gotta see what the paperwork says. Bottom line, don't fly in the morning of your cruise unless you absolutely have to. That stress is not worth it. It's also not worth the whole vacation being blown. All right, people are always confused about this one. Can you bring alcohol or food on a cruise? And the rules have changed over the years and decades. So most cruise lines allow you to bring a bottle or two of wine per cabin at embarkation. Hard liquor is usually a hard no. And if you try to sneak it, they'll probably find it. They will find it now these days. Come on, it's modern technology. And they'll hold it until the end of the cruise, or you get in big trouble. As for food, you can't bring on fresh food on board from ports for safety reasons and bugs and all that kind of stuff. Prepackaged snacks are usually fine. Each cruise line has slightly different rules, also depending on where you're stopping or going, so always check before you go. And no, you can't show up with a cooler full of margaritas or Coors Lights. Trust me, I know. All right, here's another one. Here's something first-time cruisers always ask. How does Wi-Fi work on cruise ships? Now, cruise Wi-Fi has improved a lot, especially on newer ships using Starlink, but it's not like your house. It's good for social media, email, light browsing, maybe even streaming on some ships. I actually do a lot of video recording, and I found that I have no problem with my videos on most ships. But don't expect flawless Zooms live or calls to the middle of the ocean. Packages are usually priced per device per day, and if you don't need it, just disconnect. It's actually one of the best parts of cruising, not being constantly online. I like to do work while I'm on a cruise ship because it lets me go on more cruises because I can get stuff done. And I tend to do things that I don't usually do for my work. I have the pleasure of being able to work at home, right? So I do my taxes every year. I'm about to book a tax cruise to do my taxes and my books. I reconcile my books on a cruise. Yeah, I actually do that. Some people are like, you're nuts to spend that money. It's not even that much money because with certain lines, I pretty much get like almost a free cruise or it's like $50 a day. It's like a hotel room. I can lock myself in the room and just do my work. I've got food there if I need it. After I get done for the night, I can go let loose, drink package, go gamble a little bit, and then the next day I could do my work again and then enjoy myself. So I treat myself by doing my taxes because I just hate doing it. Everybody does, right? You got to do your books and sit there and arrange and this goes here and this goes there. QuickBooks seems to work amazing on the ship internet. Also, video uploads, video editing. I've never had a problem, but if there is a problem, you just come back to it. I've even given course lectures and done live streams and Zooms with like 20 people on the Zoom, which I don't think affects my internet version of that, and it worked just fine. I went up on deck to do that, and I did it outside. It was pretty cool. I don't think the people I was doing the Zoom with were happy because they might have been a little jealous, but I did it. I was on a cruise, worked, did a Zoom. All right, I'll see you guys later, and I hope you enjoyed this. I'm Dave with Travel Mutiny. And if you see me on the ships, buy me a drink. I'll see you later.
It's Travel Mutiny with Dave on the waves. We're tossing all the worries overboard today. From deck to deck,